every time ECL's name comes up, you have noticed that there's a lot of disrespectful and unkind things said. Okay? I'll say to you on any given day, please give the man some peace. Now, let me share with you why Americans or the American government will not sit down on the same table with our former president, ECL. First of all, ECL did not accept to bend to the American agenda. America and the West do not have respect for African leaders. If you have noticed, they want to dictate how the leaders or just Africans should behave in exchange for aid and also not being sanctioned, being in good terms. If you have followed, Robert Mugabe, former Zimbabwean president, Paul Kagame, current Rwandan president, Museveni, Ugandan president, have all told them off at different times, a lot of times. Now, coming back to our own situation, in 2019, the US recalled its ambassador to Zambia, Ambassador Daniel Foote, amid a diplomatic row after he criticized the imprisonment of a gay couple. President Lungu clearly said, if you want to tie aid to the things we don't agree with, then to hell with your aid.
We are saying no to homosexuality. Why should you say we're going to be civilized if we only allow it? Are you saying we are very primitive now because we are frowning upon homosexuality? Even animals don't do it. Why should we be forced to do it because we want to be seen to be smart, to be seen to be civilized and advanced and so on? A retraction or apology would do, but I don't know, to be honest with you, how far this matter will go. Because already you're tying it to aid. If that is how you're going to bring your aids, then I'm afraid the Western can leave us alone in our poverty, and we will continue scrounging and struggling and see how we can get going.
Now, regardless of how we view ECL, personally, you know that I do not agree with a lot of things that happened when he was president of the country. You know that, okay? Regardless of what happened, he's no longer our president. We rejected him. Regardless of what happened or how you view him, ECL took a right stance, and partly we know that somehow it costed his presidency. Some say the moment ECL evicted the US ambassador, his presidency was doomed. Through aid, America has continued to colonize Africa. Why? Have you ever wondered why aid is largely in the consumption sectors and not really investment? Because America can easily create a computer manufacturing plant in the country. Why haven't they helped us with maybe even a car manufacturing plant? So you can manufacture cars and be able to export to other African nations. Why not? So the answer is they want to still give you something that you consume and still be able to tell you what to do, to control, dictate, and probably punish you in terms of sanctions once you implement things that they don't agree with. In your own country, we're supposed to be sovereign states. But you know, the one that feeds you is the one that does what? Controls you. So anyway, I was explaining why there is no relationship between America and ECL. I'm getting back there. I digressed. Daniel Foote said millions of dollars of donor aid had actually been misappropriated, but there had been no assertive corruption prosecutions in Zambia.
Ambassador Foote came out and criticized the Zambian government because they had put 2 men in jail for being gay, sentenced them to 15 years in prison. So he came out very critical of that move, also criticized the Zambian government for corruption. And at that point, the Zambian president came out and essentially said that he no longer wanted Ambassador Foote in the country, and said that he had made that known to the US government. And there was a ton of pushback to Ambassador Foote from folks in Zambia because of his comments.
Now let's get back to the joint conference at State House last week. The US Vice President said Zambia has embarked on an ambitious democratic reform agenda under your leadership. When she said your leadership, she was pointing at HH, not in the last 10 years, not since 1964, but double H7's leadership since 2021. Okay? Hear this.
Zambia has indeed embarked on an ambitious democratic reform agenda under your leadership, Mr. President. And as I have said previously on this trip, democracy and good governance around the world is a priority for the United States, and we will always stand with those who are fighting for those principles. To that end, I am pleased to announce more than $16 million for new programs in Zambia, including a focus on anti-corruption and other reform efforts. Mr. President, thank you.
So I could be wrong, but here's how I understand, that part of the press conference. The US government views the Chipani regime and everyone who was a leader under the Chipani regime as undemocratic and corrupt. But going forward with that same thought, they think things have changed since HH took office. Does anyone remember what the United States President, the number one, Joe Biden, said immediately after our elections in the year of the Lord 2021? He reserved some special recognition for the Zambian youths, and in his words, he said, democracy lives on in the young people of Zambia who harnessed the power of the vote, turning out in record numbers to denounce what? Corruption, and chart a new path for their country. The president, that's what he thinks of the Chipani regime. Hear this.
To fight graft, to build a more inclusive economy. It lives in the young people of Zambia who harness the power of their vote for the first time, turning out in record numbers to denounce corruption and chart a new path for their country. And while no democracy is perfect, including the United States, we'll continue to struggle to live up to the highest ideals to heal our divisions.
So now all those statements will actually give you a clear picture of where Americans actually are with President Edgar Lungu, former president. Also prior to the Kamala Harris visit in Zambia, almost everyone that is associated with Mr. Lungu was either protesting or almost protesting her coming to Zambia. And President Lungu some people were saying he was quiet. He could have actually said something to stop them. So do you think that America did not see all those things? They obviously did. What do they think of ECL? You think they would go and sit down with him? So Mr. Munduwile, tell me something. Why would Kamala Harris want to dine with ECL? It's practically, obviously not very possible. You clearly said in the video that there's no need for the animosity between, our current president and our former president. A call that we have made on this show a number of times, if you have followed us. So for as long as HH and ECL, along with their supporters, keep seeing each other as those people against us, I'm telling you this here now. These things of being left out or being disrespected or being called Tumpa or go to the hospital and seek help, they will never end. Those who surround our leaders, whatever you do, please offer wise counsel for the sake of our country, for the sake of moving together, for the sake of oneness, for the sake of our peace. Otherwise, we can do better as a nation.